And welcome to Podcast of the Beholder. I am Bill, and this is my co-host and good friend Chuck Hoskins. How you doing today, Chuck?
Bill, good to see you on this Sunday afternoon, buddy.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
nice day to
you
do
too.
some podcasting.
Exactly. It's not
Fall,
too
my
hot, not
favorite time of the
too
year. I love scary movies and nice temperatures and all that nonsense.
awesome.
So
Speaking of scary movies, me and my brother sat down the other day and watched Halloween Kills.
me and my wife are going to go see it Friday night. So no spoilers, please.
No, no,
So that'll
no.
be another podcast where we do the Halloween series.
Cool. Sounds good.
So Metallica in the news today. Their playing show. It seems like about every other show they're doing the Black Album in its entirety. That's pretty
Yep.
cool. And I know we haven't talked about this on the air. I'm not sure whether we have off the air or not. You know that they're having that big thing in December out in San Francisco, the big anniversary deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I've seen bootleg sets of the first one. There's like a 6 or 8 disc set going around, but it's like $150. I'd love for them to kind of record that professionally and throw out a live disc or something from that anniversary show. That'd be amazing for all those people that can't just pack up and head to San Francisco.
I know, right? Speaking of that, though, I wish they would have brought out either a DVD or a CD version of the 30th anniversary they done when they did that show at the Fillmore and they
Exactly.
had
The
like, a game
film,
and stuff
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
that's what I was talking about. There's one on eBay right now that's like $130. It's like 6 or 8 discs, and I'd love to have it, but I'd much rather pay Metallica $50 for it than and have
Yeah.
good quality.
Hmm.
Or no,
Exactly.
we were doing the podcast during the Metallica drive-in show. Did you make it to that show?
No. Oh,
Yeah, I was going to go with my son, but it was like ridiculous. So I hated the way they did the. It was only by carload. Like we couldn't just pay 20 or 25 a person. It was like 150 a carload or something like that. And I'm like, come on, for 2 people.
yeah.
I'm surprised that wasn't professionally released either like via vinyl or DVD, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I've been waiting for hopefully that they would release that.
Right.
Garth Brooks done
Especially,
a
go
sort
ahead.
of similar thing too. Sorry about that.
Who is?
Garth Brooks had done something like that right before he had released that Fun album he did here back in November.
I'm at least surprised that they didn't at least throw it in theaters, for another run. It's ready. It's not like they have to, if they don't want to physically release it, I get it, but at least throw it in theaters. I'd love to go see it.
Yep.
I mean, the set list was nothing super special, but I still wanted to see it. Hopefully, it'll
Yeah,
get a DVD release one day.
maybe.
So, another
But you
new
know,
thing. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, unlike Metallica, sometimes you hear things that they have in mind doing, and then it never comes to fruition. And one of them I had heard here a while back, and I guess because maybe the movie didn't do so great just in general, but when they did Through the Never, they had talked, and after they had done the theatrical release and the Blu-ray DVD release and all that stuff, they had talking about at one time just releasing the narrative part of it without the concert, like
Oh,
just like the movie part of it in general or whatever. Um, but
right.
that never, but it's never happened unless they just either chose not to, or maybe they just ain't got around to doing it. But
I think that whole project was kind of a swing and a miss with the kid and stuff. I think they should have just had a concert DVD. that's just my opinion. I mean, I'm sure we'll review that down the road.
Yeah,
But so another thing we're introducing to the show is what's new in our collection. I actually have a few things to show you here. Um,
nice,
Here is my latest eBay pickup. I got that this week. I've had this on my iPod forever. I had bought it off iTunes, but I finally found this for like $10 off eBay. So it's nice to add that to the collection. So that's my eBay. And then I
nice.
have a record store down the street. And speaking of this, I uh I have the CD, but for some reason I had never got the DVD. So I got a sealed copy of this, and it was only $10. So I
Nice. There
finally
you
got
go.
that to add to the collection. And this I'm very pleased with. Horrible glare. This is the Whiplash LP,
Oh, sweet.
and I got a super good deal on that. I've wanted it forever, but I've just never wanted to pay the eBay price for it. And the jacket and disc are in pretty good shape, but it came with a very old sleeve. I wasn't
Hmm.
sure whether it was the original or not, so I just put a one of those good static sleeves
There
in
you
there.
go.
I'm not one of those stickler where it has to be the if there's nothing on it, no print or anything. I'm not pressed about the sleeve, so
Yeah.
very happy to add this to the vinyl collection. So
Nice.
these are
Oh,
my good.
what song? What songs are on that?
Um, this is Jump in the Fire, and it's a special neck brace remix of Whiplash, and it's got Seek and Destroy and Phantom Lord. But
Oh,
I've
okay.
heard that those were just redone and added the crowd noise. If
Oh, okay.
what I've heard is correct, and these might actually even be the same two that were on the what's the picture disc that came in the Kill 'Em All box set? That was the
Jump in the Fire.
yeah. It might be the same two tracks as that. I'm not sure. So if you know that, you want to post it in the comments. You know. So I picked it up Thursday and I haven't even listened to it yet because my kids were here. So I
Oh,
plan
okay.
on getting into that very soon. So I know you have a couple things to show. What do you got there that's new to the
So
collection?
I picked this up for really cheap for like about $7. It's the Motorhead Classic Albums DVD for
Ace of Spades.
Eight Eights. Yep. And
Those are
I
very
have,
cool series.
yeah, it is. I have the Metallica one of that too, and the Iron Maiden one. And I picked this up on vinyl. Megadeth live in Boston, their acoustic show they done,
How is
and
the sound quality on that? Have you listened to it yet?
that's not bad. If you've had the CD or whatever, it kind of sounds like the CD. I mean, I don't think they done like a special mastering for the vinyl or
Remixer.
whatever. Yeah,
Right. I used to have a bootleg copy of that. It was like a fan club only deal, and it was hard to find under like 50 or $70 for a long time. I'm
yeah.
glad to see them finally re-release that. You froze up on me there, Bill.
Almost Honest, Promises, She Wolf, Motorcycle, and Symphony of Destruction. And it said recorded live at Bill's Bar in Boston, Massachusetts, on May 9th, 2001.
That's a very that's very cool that they did that.
Yep. And I also picked this up on vinyl.
Nice.
I haven't even opened it yet, but yeah, I picked those up. And speaking of that that live in Boston a few years ago when I was a I've always for here for a while now I've been a fan club Megadeth fan club member for probably going on about 5 or 6 years now. And anyway, one year they had if you signed up for the fan club, you got that album and another acoustic album they did live as part of like the fan club package or whatever on on CD or whatever, and that was pretty cool. And so
That in Argentina, I think.
what's that?
The CD wasn't the other CD from Argentina, or was it Philly?
I think it might have been Philly. I think maybe.
Okay, I know there's some bootlegs out there. And we'll get to the Metallica in a second. But you know what aggravates me as a Megadeth fan? I hate that you can't go into a store and get Euthanasia. And how can you not get Countdown to Extinction?
I know, right?
The, they've reissued like 13 and like a few. Last year. Remember when they remastered some of those vinyls? How was Euthanasia and Countdown not on that list? How was uh Cryptic Writings not on that list? I don't get how a band that popular has so many hard to find vinyls that you can't even buy them. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I have a question on that. You remember here back a few years ago when Metallica, I'm sorry, when Megadeth released the picture vinyls for Euthanasia and Countdown to Extinction, were they remastered then though?
I don't remember if they were remastered, but I mean that was several years ago, and I hate it when they do a picture disc without the album cover. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
I love it when it's in the cover, but I hate it. Anyway, there's no way that as many albums that sells today that bands that popular should have albums that good that you cannot find.
I know, right?
I shouldn't have to pay $150 for a Countdown to Extinction on vinyl. I shouldn't have to.
I don't blame
So
you.
somebody's dropping a ball on that one. That's one good thing about Metallica is there's never any albums you can't find.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No
So
doubt.
we're already 12 minutes in. So today's topic was one of your ideas, Bill. So tell us about today's topic.
Well, today's topic is why Metallica gets so much hate from, I mean, not only fans, but just critics and other people out there. And I think we all kind of have a few theories on that and some ideas on that. And, I'm going to let you kick this one off and I hear what you have to say first.
Well, I'm going to say that I'm going to compare this a little bit to the band Kiss. That I think if it's just an average band, you have a lot less complaints. But when it's a band that you're so passionate about, you take it a lot more to heart. And as much love as they get, they do get a lot of hate. And some of it is justified. Some of it is just haters. And some people are very slat or you know they like a certain type of music, and anything beyond that is not acceptable. A lot of people, and we'll discuss, once they hit the Black Album and beyond, once they went out of that genre of music, they just didn't like it. So and we're gonna touch on some different things that we have that they get hate from for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think the number one thing that Metallica gets hate on?
Their fight with Napster.
Okay. And I would say probably now the thing I hear the most hate on is Saint Anger. So let's start with Napster.
Okay. Speaking of
Um,
that,
Go
I
ahead.
got something. So, for those of you who do not know, what really started the fight with Napster is this song right here called "I Disappear."
Yes, it is.
Now, for those folks that do not know, when Metallica got approached to do a song for the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, when they went into the studio to do it, they had like I think it was two different versions they were working on. Yep, that's it right there. And what had happened was, I don't know how it got out, but the song got out and was being played on the radio. And come to find out, their management contacted them and said, "Hey, did y'all send a song to radio that we don't know nothing about?" And they're like, "No, what are you talking about?" And come to find out, they were that version, one of the versions they had been working on, got leaked to the radio. And come to find out, they found out it was, I guess, this company called Napster had hijacked their single or their music or whatever and was playing. And it was it, I'm going to use kind of use a little bit of craft language, but it started a shitstorm with Metallica and Lars and this whole digital download era, and
Yeah.
people thought Metallica was doing it for the money when I believe and true wholeheartedly believe that it was for your rights to being able to do with your music what you want to with it.
Um, I think that even if the song wouldn't have been leaked to the radio, I think it was coming anyway. Just, you know, looking back now, it was such a big thing. I mean, I never in I just looked at the release date of this. This is 2000. So this is probably right around when that stuff was going on. In
Yep.
2000, I would never have believed that for bands like I do today, I'd have to get it through the mail because you can't even find a CD store in your area.
Yep.
So I think Lars knew it was coming. And I've heard several people say that basically Lars took the hit for everybody. I mean, he stood up for so many musicians that were too afraid to speak.
Yep.
And I mean, it's easy for people to say, screw them, they got enough money. They don't owe us anything. I mean, they don't owe us anything for free. And I hate the way that I mean, I love the convenience of Spotify, but I hate how hard it is to get physical media
Yep.
and the lack of. I mean, I miss singles so much. I mean, all the way up until Death Magnetic, you could buy CD singles, and now they just show up on Spotify. Here's a single. Here's another one.
Yep.
I miss that aspect. But Lars knew it. He took the hit, and I think it aged very well in there for the looks of them. I think it was bad at the time, but I think as if people look back now and they see how bands and people who write songs get screwed over on royalties as far as what they should get from them, I don't think people are nearly as mad as at Lars as they were.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the time, I mean, they took a hit.
Yeah. And the biggest part that always got to me was people acting like, and I will say this, like I said, I truly believe in my heart it had nothing to do about money. It was about, you took our music and you didn't ask if you could get it. And even if it was about the money, let's just say it was about the money. If you create something, you should be able to make money off that as long as people are willing to buy it. That's just the
Sure,
way I look at it. Okay. You know, I look at, like I always tell people, I look at that situation from two different sides. Being an artist myself, who's someone who writes books and publish my books not only physically, but sometimes I even do them like on Kindle and stuff like that. I believe that if I want to give someone something, I'll give it to them. If I would like for them to buy it, I'd rather for them to buy it, whether it's digitally or paperback. So I see both aspects of that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure.
um, so it's kind of one of those things where, you know, it even if it is about money, you know how you stop that? You just don't buy it. That's the way I look at that. If you want to hurt an artist, just don't buy it. That's pretty much the way it goes.
Yeah. It was a weird time, and I was lucky enough to interview John Schaefer of Iced Earth for my old podcast, and he went into details and praised Lars and for all that he did. So it's one of those weird things where he was kind of a vocal spot, but he still took a lot of the hit on it.
Yep.
And Interesting. I mean, it still comes up. You still hear. I think that shadow is always going to be a little side note in the Metallica story for sure.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But I do believe that one aged well in Metallica's favor.
Yeah.
I mean, he saw it was coming. He knew. I mean, I remember when Napster came out, I was looking for bootlegs. I wasn't even then. I wasn't trying to replace. Oh, this is loads going to be coming out, so I don't have to buy it. I'm just going to steal it. No, I was looking for something from the Black Tour or here's some puppets demos. That's what I was looking for. I wasn't looking
Yeah.
for official stuff. So,
Yep.
but I mean, people stopped buying it. I went to the flea market today, and you could buy DVDs all day for $1 and $2 because
Yep.
people don't want physical media anymore. They got Netflix. They don't need DVDs.
Yep.
So that was an interesting time. Now, at the same time of that, and let's kind of switch gears to the next thing, the load. They got so much, and I can't remember any band getting this much crap for changing their appearance that much, but they got so much shit for cutting their hair and doing the eyeliner for load that I mean, do you remember seeing the I think the first time I seen it was the Until It Sleeps video. Were you appalled or did you say that's not my Metallica?
No, actually, I think the first time I saw them was the King Nothing video.
Okay.
Um, well, actually, I had heard a few songs, but the first actual video I had saw was King Nothing, and
Okay.
I thought it was cool. I mean,
Well,
hair was
Jason already had his hair cut.
yeah. So I mean, it's not like and he did that. What about 3/4 way
Well,
through the Black
Black
Album tour?
Tour,
Yeah,
yeah. And I didn't say. I mean, he was cool to watch headbang, but I didn't, say, "Oh, Jason got his hair cut." No, that sucks.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of bands evolve. I mean, they're not the only ones.
no,
Everybody changes. I mean,
mhm,
Kiss went through different phases. Maiden doesn't wear white and black striped spandex anymore.
mhm,
No one ever never Slayer and ACDC maybe. There's a few that don't change,
yeah.
but I don't understand the hatred as far and some of that I always wondered if they would have came out with long hair how the Load album would have been received because that was way different than the Black album.
Funny. I
So
was
I
just. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
go
ahead. I
ahead.
thought you. No.
No, I was just gonna say I'd love to have two different parallel universes where Load is released with an album cover with them all with long hair, and then them looking like they're at some kind of Puerto Rican cocaine party, like they were in the back of on the back of the CD.
Yeah. It was funny. I was listening to an Eddie Trunk thing here about a few years ago. I think it's been about 3 years ago. And a caller called in and asked, I said, man, why does Metallica's Load album get so much hate, or why do they get so much hate for it? And Eddie Trunk says, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. He said, it's not the music. It's because Metallica had cut their hair and changed their image. He said, if you would have slapped that album cover on there, that would have been a little bit different. And he said, you would have put Metallica standing on the back of the album with the long hair like they had on the Black album. He said that album wouldn't have got the hate that it got. Yeah, the music is a little bit different and everything. He says, but the music is not, he said, the music's not bad. It's just Metallica had this image that everybody thought this is my Metallica. And then And even Jason said it. He said in behind the music says you got people on there a lot in Cuban pimp suits and smoking cigars, and you got a picture from the Black Album and said this is my Metallica. He said, but I don't recognize these dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if they would
Right.
have showed up, and they would have had the long hair like they did in the Black Album, and you'd have saw that in Load, they'd have been like, okay, maybe it's just an experimental album from Metallica. They're trying something, see how it goes over. I don't think the album would have got as much hate as it did, even with the music that's on it. It's just it was an image thing, and that's why people, even still to this day, some people just can't, like, they hate on Load because that was the era Metallica cut their hair. Well, sorry, Jason had already had his hair cut before the Load album.
Right.
So what do you say about that? You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, James had that awful mullet thing going on too, so I wasn't that sad to see James's go. About
Yeah,
94, he looked 95, his hair looked horrible in 95.
yeah.
So
Well, I think a lot of that had to do after he got burnt, though, the way he did.
I don't know, I've never heard any connection to the two. That's interesting. But yeah, that's one of the things that, the hair and load is another thing that just I would love, like I said, I'd love the second parallel world and see where low would be right now. Because in my mind, I think there's times where I think low could be just as good as a Black Album. I mean, just pound for pound. And I don't want to go too much into either one of them right now because we'll be doing our whole album retrospectives on them. But it's an outstanding album, and as I guess I'm one of those fans where I don't mind a country-ish, Mama Said song. I don't, they were influenced by Alice in Chains. I mean, everything was changing in those mid '90s. All the hair bands went away. Popular music, it went from Bon Jovi's popular and Poison and this to now you're getting Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Nirvana. I mean, they have evolved through the years and still kept their sound, but I can't fault them for changing in a time where everybody changes. But I
And
know it bothered a lot of people.
no, and another thing too. And if you watch that year and a half in the life of Metallica outtakes on the one that come in the box set there, he even said that when he done the Unforgiven, he kind of wanted it to have kind of like a spaghetti western feel to it, kind of like a spaghetti western kind of sound to it or
Right.
whatever. So, you know,
Yeah, Unforgiven is not that far from Low Man's Lyric. I mean, it's
no,
just an amp or tweak too, and that. So, and I hear parts of Load and Reload on Hardwired too.
yeah, oh
Like
yeah,
I can't think of the song specifically. When we get to those reviews, I'll bring that up. But so I mean, that era of music, there's some outstanding songs from those two albums.
oh yeah.
But they got the haircut, they got the airliner on, and a lot of people just didn't get it. And
I you
I
know
think a
what
lot of
you know what I
good.
think it was. I think Metallica done that to throw people. I think Metallica wanted people to just take the music and judge the music by the music and not their image. But people had the image thing, and it took away from the music. And I don't know. Maybe they just thought like, hey, we're gonna throw something out here and see how people react to it. And I kind of wonder if that's what they've done. And you know, but I mean, people can judge however they want to, but for that, I think it's just kind of crazy. I mean, I look at Load for the music, not for how they look.
Well, and I think part of that is, I think they also, I mean, Metallica has never made any bones about they want to be popular. They want to sell records, they want airplay. And you can't tell me any band that doesn't want to. I mean, any band that says they're underground and they don't want to sell 12 million records and be on Billboard's top 100 years, they're lying.
Yep.
They're smart enough, and I think they they want to do their thing, and if you're along with the ride, great. But I don't think they're afraid to take risk, and that they showed that later on with Lulu.
Yep.
And I don't mind them taking risks because many of them have been very successful.
Yep.
S&M was a risk, huge success in my part.
Yep.
I love it. So I mean, they take risk, and they're not afraid to say yes, we're metal, but we're also going to slow it down and do this ballad. I love that.
Well,
So
like with Lulu, for instance, it was never really considered a Metallica record that I really as far as what you say, it was more of a like a just a collaboration kind of a thing. Where
right.
people took it as, oh, it's a Metallica record, and you're paying homage to a guy, Lou Reed, who's a great, wonderful musician, and you just collaborating with stuff. And so what if it doesn't sound like Metallica? Does everything have to like? Here's what I have to say, and I want to say this, and people are gonna probably not agree with what I'm gonna say here. But why does Metallica, when they do something, why does it always have to sound like Metallica? If you get what I'm saying on
Um,
that.
well, I think that anything James touches is going to be Metallica. I think that's there's certain roots where, I mean, when Kurt plugs in and they play a riff, I think it's going to be Metallica. I think there's certain aspects of it, and that's not good or bad, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I think anything that they do is going to. That's a good point. I mean, I'm not even sure where I was going with that.
Well, I
I
mean,
I have no problem with Lulu, as if they said we're going to do these Lulu type, we're basically uh Lou Reed's backing band forever now, I'd be like, man, skip that. But it was they've got enough money and they've got enough whatever clout to, if they want to do something like that, go do it. If they want to be Garth Brooks's backing band for a year and play I Got Friends in Low Places, they could do that. Just come back and put out Hardwired to Self Destruct,
yep,
which they did.
yep.
So yeah, Lulu gets a lot of hate. I haven't even got to the whole thing. I listened to a couple tracks, and I don't consider it a Metallica album, so it doesn't anger me.
Yeah.
It's almost like seeing Jim Carrey do a serious role where he's like dying of cancer and stuff. It's like, okay, he did something that he wanted to do. I get it. Now do Ace Ventura 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they kind of did their own thing. I'm not mad. I don't consider it. I don't listen to it. And I think
Yeah.
they know 90% of their fans bought it and 10% listened to it.
Yeah.
They know. So, and that brings us to another polarizing album, Saint Anger and the drums. What's your thought? We haven't talked about Saint Anger. Tell me your Saint Anger thoughts without going too deep into the songs.
I I'm gonna be honest with you, man. The drums never really bothered me. Being a drummer, the drums never really bothered me. And people like bitching too about, oh well, there's no solos to the songs and shit like that. Well, I'm just gonna say this. I thought Saint Anger had a kind of this raw kind of coming out of rehab sound to it for James, and it was just kind of, hey, we're going to do this. You know, we probably know it's going to get hate, but this is what we're doing, and we're doing it, and we're going to do it no matter what. And I just and I'm gonna tell people, people can, you know, hate me for saying this. I think there's some great songs on that album. I really do. I mean, like one of my favorite songs off that album is that song The Unnamed Feeling. That's like one of my favorite songs off the album. I don't know why. I just always kind of dug that song and thought it was, man, that song's really cool. But you know, does I mean the drum? I don't care that the snare sounded fucking weird. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It just, to me, it's like, oh well, you know.
You know, they've taken some different production chances. I mean, you've got the first four was all Fleming, and then you go through the Bob Rock, which I think were sounded amazing, and then you go to the Rick Rubin one that a lot of people hates it because it's the way it's mixed and turned up too loud. I don't mind that. I don't never put it in my CD player and say this sounds too loud. You
Yeah,
know, when I turn the songs on, I'm like, oh, this one's a little bit louder in my iPod. That's cool. I think the production on that one's fine. I think a lot of people nitpick. I mean, I know that the bass thing on the Justices, you know, they're so popular, they're always going to have people judging everything they do. I mean, I like Saint Anger. I remember when it comes out, it was different, but I think this song Saint Anger is so good. I
it
mean,
is.
is a is a song is a the the drums different? Yeah. I mean, am I glad they didn't stay with that? Yes. But I don't mind that they try something different. If you see the movie Some Kind of Monster, which I've seen 50 times, I know I love that movie. It's
Yeah,
kind of cool to see why that album turned out the way it did and how it kind of almost broke up the band. You know, just everything that was going on with James and Lars, and you know, the stuff with Jason being out. It's kind of cool to see that stuff. And here's the way I look at it. If you think, let's just say, and I don't think that Saint Anger is the worst album of Metallica. If you think that that's the worst Metallica album, it's still way better than the worst Megadeth. It's way better than the worst Maiden. So I mean,
yeah,
is it Master of Puppets? No, but I'm glad to have Frantic, and I'm telling you, the what's the song that was just on S&M 2? I can't think of it right now.
dang, I know what
All
I
Within
think
My
I know.
Hands.
Yeah,
All Within My Hands. They turned that into a masterpiece on S&M 2. I mean,
yeah,
that's unrecognizable from the original. So I mean,
yeah,
they're really good songs, and I think they still sound good live. But people, again, people like to hate, and I think that's with any band. I'm sure there's people that are huge Beatle fans that say, well, you could tell that's when Yoko Ono, or you know, whatever. So I mean,
yeah,
I think that Metallica has hate, but I think a lot of people get that after a certain amount of popularity. And some people, you know, you could bring up the Tom Brady with the Patriots. Some people just get tired of seeing him on top.
yeah,
Like, oh, here they are with another huge selling record. I'm sick of them winning. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I can't wait to get into Saint Anger. I have a lot of good things to say about that album.
yeah.
Would I like to hear a different mix of it? I would, but if it never happens, I'm okay with that too.
Well, you know, I had some ideas I want to talk about on that album. So when we do the album kind of talk about on that, I got some interesting things I want to say about that and everything. So that'll be cool when we do that.
Yeah, me
You know,
too. I enjoy that. I listened to it just last week in the car.
yeah. I mean, oh, and you know, I meant to tell you too. I mean, I've had it now for a little while, but I finally found a jewel case version of that. Um,
I've seen them on eBay, but I haven't seen any. Did you get it in the United States or outside?
uh, I think it was United States. I think
Okay.
I don't remember.
I know that they're hard to find in the US.
Yep.
I mean, I haven't been super looking, but I don't have the jewel case for Death Magnetic either, and I know that those exist.
Yeah. I found one of
I
those a
haven't.
while back.
Is there a hardwired in a double jewel case?
I don't think so. I don't think that album came out in jewel case at all.
I usually sometimes they'll show up at like some Russian bootleg or something.
Yeah.
But I like the jewel cases. I know that
Yeah.
that's something we've discussed before. Did you pick it up or did you just find it?
What's that?
The Saint Anger jewel case.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I picked it up. Yep. Um,
Did it also come with the DVD? I know there's some versions that don't have the DVD.
I think I think my version came without the DVD. I think.
Are we frozen on your end or no?
No.
Okay, that's fine. We are on
Um,
my end. So
no, I think it was just the CD that I got.
okay, I've seen different versions. It's been a while since I've looked,
Yeah.
but I've seen different versions where some of them are 2 disc and some of them are one. And I think all the jewel case are just single disc, no DVD.
And there's one other thing I'd love to find a jewel case for, and that's through the Never, the soundtrack there or whatever. They made jewel cases of that, but they're really hard to find.
They're hard to find too. I'm also looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I I totally agree. I totally agree. Um, so we've touched on Saint Anger, haircuts, Napster, popularity. What else do you see them getting hate for?
Uh,
And well, we could discuss on the what I call the first four album fans. Some people don't think they exist after Justice.
um, I'm gonna say this, and people can say what they want to, and they have the right to their own opinion. Any band, okay, if any band tells you that they're out there to play music just to play music. Now, some people maybe are. Maybe it's a side gig for them on the weekend, and they go out and they play, a few bars or something like that with a band, and they just do it because they love to play music. Okay, fine. But anybody that's seriously going out here and saying, okay, we're we got all these songs, we're gonna put a demo together, we're gonna record again. If your idea is to get signed, you have gone from playing a band that I don't do it for the money, I do it for the love of the music. If once you sign a contract and you get a record deal, you're playing in a band to make money. I don't care what
Sure,
anybody says, right? I mean,
right.
I mean that's just like if me and you was to start a band tomorrow and we went out and we signed a contract, say, let's say with Capital or whatever, and we sold 50 million copies of our debut album. You know, am I gonna say, well, I don't think I'm gonna take the money because I enjoy just playing music? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna take the money. If people are gonna buy my record, I'm gonna take the money.
Sure,
So for those people out here that say that they write music to say, oh, I just do it for the music, I'm not here to get paid, then why do you play shows to get paid? Why do you put out albums for people to buy? I can understand, like I said, if you were a little old garage band and you just go out here and play little places on the weekend or something just to have something to do. Fine, I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're seriously about making it huge in the music world, You're a band that's playing for money. I don't care what anybody says. And you're going to want to
Well,
sell as many albums as you can.
I've also heard them talk about kind of when they went into the album to do, or went in the studio to do the Black album, that, and I think this was Kirk that I heard talking about it. They remember on the Justice tour, them doing those long, frayed in, the longer songs like Justice and stuff, and they were just losing the crowd on those long songs.
Yep.
And they were like, we need to, and Bob Rock is like, you guys need to tighten that up. You guys haven't reached your capabilities yet. So I think it was I mean, you think that they don't see everybody heading to the exits for the bathroom, but they do.
Yeah.
They look out and see people say, what the hell is this? They know.
Yep.
So I mean, I love those long songs on Justice. We'll get to that one day. But they noticed that there was and I'm glad they did the Bob. I'd love for them to do one more with Bob Rock before they call it quits.
Yeah.
I would.
I'm gonna tell you what I would love, and don't get me wrong, and like when you have a lot, because there's some songs I love, those long songs that I love bits and pieces of. So I think they should do more of those melodies or medleys that they do. Like
Yeah.
the Kill Ride medley and stuff like that, and the Justice medleys they do and stuff. I just think they should do some of those live, man, and
The
you get a little,
Justice medley was
you know.
fantastic on the Black Tour.
Yep.
I love that.
And I mean,
Um,
I don't know. I just got that. I don't. People. I think that a lot of the hate that came from the Black album is kind of unjust. I really do. Um, because some people hated Metallica because they went mainstream. But
yeah, I mean, and we kind of touched on that. I get if you're a thrash or nothing fan, which there are, I get it. Listen to the first four. I mean, there's lots of bands that have that. There's people that only listen to the first two Motley Crue records. There's people that only listen to Iron Maiden up to Seventh Son. I mean, if that's your thing and you don't want to take the trip, I get it. Stay with that, you know.
yeah,
But for every one thrash fan that they lost, they picked up four in-betweeners that aren't metalheads. You know,
yep,
people that don't like Slayer and don't even know who Slayer is that listen to Hootie and the Blowfish or whatever because they loved, Unforgiven and Through the Never being on the radio.
yep,
So I dig it. I think it. I mean, I've been listening to the Black album this week a lot, and I forgot how stinking good "Don't Tread on Me" is.
yeah,
That song comes so hard, and you know you can't blame Metallica for song fatigue. I mean, any band, if they, no band would say, "Hey, this song is good, but I don't want it on the radio every hour." It's lying.
yeah,
You can't blame them because you hear Enter Sandman at every sports event. You know, that's great. You know, and we'll get into set list and song fatigue, I think, at some point. But
yep,
you can't take that points away for the Black album because it finds you. Black album is one of those albums that finds you. If you don't seek it out, you're still going to hear Sad but True on your rock station. You're still going to hear Enter Sandman in a movie next week. You're still going to come across Nothing Else Matters on the radio. You run into that album. You don't always have to look for it.
yep,
And I don't take points away for it being same thing with the ACDC's Back in Black. You can't hate on that because every movie wants, ACDC in the soundtrack. You can't take away from that.
exactly.
But I mean, if you're a thrash only person, I get it. You know, listen to the
Well,
first four.
I have to say this, and Marty Friedman said it great in the Megadeth. behind the music when he was talking about. He says, when you're in Megadeth, your palette or your color scheme is gunmetal gray, and there's no kind of whatever it is. But I like to paint with yellow, blues, black and whites, and greens and purples and stuff like that. You know,
Sure.
he's that don't leave you much room to create. See, I have nothing against bands like Slayer and stuff like that. But I kind of have this feeling that if you've listened to Rain and Blood, you've listened to just about everything that Slayer's done. Okay? I mean, but I'm more of a diversity kind of person. Like I love the slowness and the kind of the hey, if you want to call it a country sounding or whatever sounding of the Load record. But I also love that weird snare sound that you get off of Saint Anger. I love the everything that Metallica has done. It's like taking it all together and mixing this really weird like gumbo almost like. But
Sure.
when you eat it, it's great. But people's like, man, look at all the stuff you've got in there. You know, it's I don't know. I just like there's bands out here that they stick and they do the same thing every album. And
Right.
if that's your niche, fine. If your fans buy that, fine, good, great for them. But I'm the kind of person I want a little bit of, maybe this week I want mayo on my sandwich. Maybe this week I don't. Or maybe this week I want, mustard with my fries. Maybe this week I don't. It's
Yeah.
one of those things, whether it's, I love a diversity once in a while. You can't have the same stuff over and over and over. It's like listening to a song on repeat, really.
Right. And I don't see that diversity as a weakness. I mean, there's sometimes I want to hear Low Man's lyric, and I want to hear When a Blind Man Cries, the cover song that's on Hardwired. And then sometimes I just want to put in So What on my way home and just freaking just bang my head and just yell out stupid cuss words.
I know,
I
right?
love that there's different things for different palettes that you have. I mean, you want the hard stuff, go back to the first couple albums, Puppets, can't go wrong. If you want some just 3-minute rock songs, you got the all kinds of stuff and everything in between.
Mhm.
And I dig it. Heck, there's some great songs on we haven't really digged into the Garage Inc. stuff. I mean, some of those covers are amazing.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
they could pull off rock, they could pull off Skinner. I mean, they're so much more than I think they're a heavy band, but they're okay with not always being a metal band. And I think that pisses off some of the patch wearing metalists,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And I mean, I have some country stuff in my collection. I don't always listen to metal. I go see Prince tributes with my wife. I mean, I like to listen to different things, but if you're a metal only person, I get it. You don't like Load, I get it.
Yep.
So
And speaking of that, when you think about it, James Hetfield was a huge Waylon Jennings fan. Loved Waylon.
that's that song he did on the Waylon Jennings tribute was awful, awesome.
Yeah, it
Outlaw
was.
bit,
Yep.
and they did a live version on some kind of country show that was even better than the studio. Bob Rock was playing on there with him.
Yeah. Yep.
It was amazing. So if you haven't seen that, look it up. I
I've
need
seen it.
to.
Yeah.
I don't have that CD anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but I bought the CD just for that song.
Yeah. I've got the song somewhere. I think I downloaded the song or whatever.
Okay.
I've got
Yeah,
it
but
somewhere.
that's a good tune.
Yeah. So I mean,
So
it's like I said, and but I want to ask somebody, and I've always wanted to ask this question to somebody, and they go, "What truly is metal?" Because you think about something. You listen to some of the earlier stuff of like Black Sabbath and Maiden and
right,
stuff like that. They were considered metal, but if you really listen to, especially like the first album in Killers, because I was listening to Killer, I think it was the first album one day, and my brother's like, that don't really sound like metal. I said, no, it's more like punk and some other stuff kind of mixed in with it or whatever. But Maiden's considered a metal band. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm like, define metal for me. Is there really a definition out there? Because my thing to
Well,
me, you know, because, and you think about something, you got all these different genres of metal. So, how can you really say that what Metallica, even if you listen to Load and Reload, how can you say that's not metal? You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
I mean, I've heard that discussion. I've seen a lot of stuff on, is this metal? If Metallica puts out a all acoustic album, which they has, is that still metal? You know,
Yeah,
I think that I think it is. I think I'm okay with different subgenres, and I've seen a lot of those. I forget the name of the guy on YouTube that's really good at breaking down, but I mean, there's 30 different subgenres of metal,
yeah,
and I think there's room for all of them.
yeah.
I don't think that you know that it only has to be thrash or only has to be this or I think it's boring if all there was LA glam metal.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that stuff, but if that was the only thing going on, that was the only metal there wouldn't be Sabbath, there wouldn't be other stuff going on,
Nope.
Pantera. I mean, and then there's black, there's stuff I don't like. There's some of those, you know, really screamo foreign stuff that I think is garbage, but I like that it's out there.
Yep. Oh, me
So
too. I mean, it's different for everybody. I mean, you got, or whatever. But I just like, there are just some people out there, and I think that some people out there are just so naive when it comes to stuff. Because I used to be like that when I was young in my early teen days, man. I was like, oh man, if it ain't Metallica, I ain't listening to it. You know what I'm saying? But lo and behold, I'm glad I didn't have that attitude getting older in my life. Because I discovered wonderful bands like Iced Earth. And, you know, I always did listen to a little bit of Maiden, even when I listened to Metallica, because I knew that was one of the bands they were influenced by, and some Motorhead and stuff like that. But I later found bands like Iced Earth and Camelot and Hammerfall, and some of these other bands like that are just these power metal bands and stuff like that, and just different stuff, man. And a lot of that stuff is cool. And when you're naive and you only think, "Oh, I'm only listening to one thing and that's it," well, you don't have a very colorful palette. You know what I'm saying? You know.
I like the choices.
Mhm.
If you want to go to the buffet and all you get is fried chicken, hey, that's fine.
Mhm.
But there's all kinds of stuff out there.
That's right.
So, as we get ready to wrap this up, we're about ready to hit the hour mark. I don't think we're quite ready for the Black Album review yet, and that's not
Nope.
a bad thing. There's just so much to take in. It's
Oh
so
yeah.
I want to watch everything and listen to everything before I do a review on it. So I'm not ready yet. So Bill, me and you will discuss soon what our next episode will be. We got some ideas. We'll talk about off camera, but hit like, hit subscribe, and if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, throw them in there. And I know
Exactly.
there's been a few comments on our podcast, so hopefully it'll continue to grow here over the next year or so. But we've
Yep.
got a lot to discuss still, a lot of cool stuff. We got some ideas coming up about some rankings, and of course, more album retrospectives and DVD retrospectives and whatnot. So some cool stuff coming up for sure.
Oh yeah. Yep. Sky's the limit. The way I look at it.
Yeah. So hit like and subscribe for us, and stay tuned. We'll have some cool stuff coming up.
Yep.
We'll
So,
announce on our Facebook page soon what our next episode will be on.
awesome.
So, you got anything else you want to talk about, or are you good?
I just want to say thanks, guys, for listening. For those people who listen and watch our podcast, we appreciate that. Those people who comment, we really appreciate that. And like you said, like and subscribe. And we do this, man, because we love Metallica. We love the music, and but we're not also afraid to talk about other things too. You know, on this
Yep.
podcast, if you want to hear something like, well, you know, maybe some Metallica influence stuff or some Metallica kind of like, if someone says, hey, what do you think about Metallica, like Motorhead, some kind of like Motorhead thing or something, whatever. Well, we can talk about whatever. I mean, even though this podcast is based on Metallica, but
Right.
you got to think about some Metallica was influenced by a lot of people, and they crafted their sound out of so many different bands. So we're willing to talk about stuff, even if I have to go research stuff or listen to something. I'm willing to do that, but
Yeah.
just
And
keep an
then
open mind, and so
there's
we
also a few Megadeth albums I want to do reviews on. So,
yeah, so
and that's close enough associated for me. So,
yep.
yeah. So this was a fun topic. We got to talk about some cool stuff, and we'll get back sooner than later and hit you guys with episode 4.
Oh yeah, yep.
So.
Peace out, everybody. Have a good day.